Muy buenas tardes a todas las personas que se empiezan a unir a esta sesión de Predeparture en este 3 de julio del 2025 con la Universidad de Sussex. Inicialmente, por favor, permítanme felicitarlos a todos y a todas por haber conseguido ser seleccionados en esta convocatoria del programa Crédito Beca del 2025. Estamos dando justamente apertura a estos espacios para que puedan acceder ustedes a información esencial para que den inicio a todos los asuntos previos a su viaje a este increíble destino. Entonces, para no dar más preámbulos, les presento a Cassia Simons. Ella es representante de esta institución y nos va a brindar información esencial que todos ustedes requieran. Por favor, aprovechen muchísimo el espacio, aprovechen muchísimo su participación y déjennos cualquier inquietud que surja en el camino en el cajón de Q&A que con muchísimo gusto las iremos resolviendo al finalizar la sesión o a lo largo de la misma. Cassia, thank you so much for being here today with us. We are so happy to have you here. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Hope you have had a good day today. So I am going to talk you through, as Karen said, the University of Sussex and some information that will be helpful to you over the summer before you arrive. So I just wanted to introduce my team. My name's Kasia. I'm the Regional Director at Sussex. And then also very helpfully supported by my colleague Kevin, who some of you may have met before, who is our Regional Officer. We would be here as our team to support you over the summer and up until the enrolment period in the autumn as well. So if you as always, if you have any questions, you can send them directly to us. So just as a reminder as to where the University of Sussex is, so it is in England on the very south coast of the UK in a place called Brighton. The University of Sussex has around 17,000 students. For England, that is in the middle size-wise. And it's a very international community. So over 30% of our students come from outside of the UK and from all over the world, which we absolutely love. Sussex is a research intensive university, which means all of the people that are teaching you are still researching and still have their areas of expertise that they research and that they still love a lot as well. So this is our campus space here, and it's also behind me on my green screen. We are a single campus, so everything that we have is in this one space. It is in a beautiful location. It is in the grounds of the South Downs National Park, and we are the only English university to be in a national park. So if you're a nature lover, you can expect to see rabbits on campus, sheep around campus, but also enjoy some amazing walks in and around the campus space as well. Sussex was built in the 1960s, and a lot of our buildings reflect the building trends of the time. Sussex campus is part of the Brutalist architecture movement, which holds some special significance in the UK. And our architect, Sir Basil Spence, really wanted to merge the idea of man and nature in together. So you'll see a lot of the buildings are quite heavily concrete, but obviously with this green space around us, which is amazing. At any one time on campus, about 6,000 people are living there. And obviously the rest of the population of the university lives elsewhere. The campus is really split into two sections, the front half being your academic spaces, library, other facilities, supermarket, which I'll talk to a little bit later on. And the back of campus is where the majority of our residences are held. So what's going on campus? Well, campus can be quite busy. So these are some things that you will regularly see going on campus. So we have a weekly, it's actually bi-weekly farmers market, street food fair. We also often have a lot of pop-up options. So just last week I was on campus and there was a French market stall on campus selling like delicious pastries and like home goods, which was really nice. We do a lot of festivals and celebrations at the university, whether that be Pride, whether that be our One World's Week celebration, international community at the university, or even just a welcome week celebration. There's loads of places to eat and drink on campus, which I'll talk to a little bit later as well. There's also, I guess, more low-key activities. So things like open mic nights, going to watch the sports events in the pub, live music, going to see a theatre show. We have all of these options available on campus as well. There's also 2 sports centres, one at the very top of campus, sort of up here, which is where you'll find the football pitches, rugby, cricket, tennis. And then we have another sports centre at the very bottom of campus, which is where if you want to do yoga or play table tennis, badminton, basketball, they're all in there, and both have full gym suites as well. So one of the other ways to get involved in campus life is through the clubs and societies. And often I think people think that clubs and societies are for undergraduate students. And at Sussex, that's not the case. Anyone can join any society they would like to. So I just picked a selection of our current offerings, but these are some of the ones that we were running this year. And there's really an interest for everybody, for sure. We also have all of our sports clubs as well. So we compete in the sort of competitive leagues that are in the British university system. And these are all of the ones that we run on that competitive level. We also have more, I guess, hobby-based sports team or sports clubs as well, and a great society called Active Us, where you can try a different sport each week. As I mentioned, we have the 2 sports sites on campus, which is there for you to use. It also has a full class timetable, and there's different membership levels depending on what you want. So there are free memberships, and then our gold membership, which gives you absolutely everything, is about £150 for the year. The only thing we don't have on campus in terms of sports is a swimming pool, but we've teamed up with local swimming pools to offer £1.50 swims in the local area. So if you do want to go swimming, there is definitely still options for you there. So in terms of the other university facilities, the university really is like a small town. It's about 2 kilometres front to back. So it's a large space, but not crazy big. And these are all of the facilities that we have available for you. So whether it be studying at 3 a.m. in the library or utilising the gym spaces, we also have a supermarket on campus, a post office, a healthcare centre, the arts centre. And we also have our brand new student centre, which is the image here. It only opened 2 years ago, and it is our dedicated space for all things students. You can work in there, you can relax in there, you can host events in there, and very importantly, it is home to our student services, which are out in a couple of slides. So as far as eating on campus, there is plenty of choice available. If you're going to live in residences, they are all self-catered, but if you don't feel like cooking one night, you will have plenty of options here. Eat Central is our major food hall, which only had a complete renovation last year, only in 2024, so that is amazing with different food options there. They also have a budget meal option there going every day as well. Some of the more cafe-based options are fantastic. Our Dava Cafe it's just been renamed. It's called the Veg Bowl now, and it is fully vegetarian and vegan. And then you've also got the outlets that are run by our Students' Union. So that's places like Falmer Bar, Northfield Bar, Room 76, and they definitely have, I guess, that less like university feel and more student feel. So the picture on the screen is Room 76, which is a coffee house, but also it's a coffee house, but also you could like just go and have a chill glass of wine there. The Falmer Bar and Northfield Bar are more pubs, and they show sports events. They do a lot of live events. They have food running until about midnight each night, so they are great reasons. So in terms of student support options, obviously appreciate that moving to the UK is daunting enough as it is, and you will have our support throughout the entire process. But once you arrive, you will have access to all of these different support options. So things like the Student Life Centre, they can support you on things like budgeting, your mental health, or even just having someone to talk to if you're feeling a little bit. The Student Support Unit is there to support you with any disabilities or health conditions that might be impacting your studies. And actually, if that is something that applies to you, we can work with you before you arrive at the university to ensure things are in place to make that transition a little bit easier. So if you're someone that maybe has an ADHD diagnosis, autism diagnosis, a mental health condition that impacts your studies, let us know and we can definitely put you in touch with the team to make any relevant adjustments to your learning. Our Careers and Employability Centre are there for all things jobs. So whether it's looking for a part-time job whilst you're at the university, supporting your plans post-graduation, and even supporting you after you've graduated, they can do that for you. They can also they run amazing things like entrepreneurship programs and innovation programs for you whilst you're at the university as well. Another thing to mention is the academic support that you'll have at the university. So the setup will be is you'll have an academic advisor. They will support you throughout your studies, and you'll also have office hours for each of the teachers for the classes you're taking. You'll also have a dissertation supervisor and support of the school office as well for the logistical parts of your study. I think one of the things that is really underestimated when you move to a new country or start at a new place is the peer level support. So from people like yourselves that are moving. You may have already been invited to join our WhatsApp groups, and if you haven't, definitely go back and check for the email on that. And that's a great way to get chatting to people before you even arrive. But getting involved in clubs and societies, or even setting up your own society, is a real way to find your tribe at the university and make sure that you've got support from people outside of your. We also have great support from the housing team in terms of supporting your life on campus, in residence, if that's what you're doing. You can also reach out to the Students' Union for support. And then our meeting house is our multi-faith chapel on campus. So they provide faith and spirituality guidance throughout the year. They are not affiliated to one particular religion, which I think is what makes it work. So what should you be thinking about at this stage before you are going to leave for Sussex? So the first thing that I wanted to mention is university housing. If you're planning on living in university housing, and my opinion on this is that it is easier to do this than rent in the private sector. You have until, it's actually, sorry, I've just noticed an error on my slides. It is July 31st is your deadline to apply and be guaranteed a place in residence. You can live in the residence for the whole year that you're with us. It's a 51-week tenancy. So it will start about 10 days before teaching starts and then go through to the end of your degree program. All of the bedrooms are single, so you always have your own bedroom, and then they're all self-catered, so you'll have a proper kitchen to look after yourselves in. You will live with other postgrad international students, so you will be with people who are going through the same experience as you. I'll talk to prices in the next slide, but those prices that I'm going to speak to include your rent and your utilities, a basic insurance, cleaning services, all of that kind of thing. And all the residences are on our campus. So if you're wanting that campus experience, you can have that. These are the 5 options that we have open for master students. So you can see there's a different sort of price point depending on which one you're looking at. But places like Northfield, Stanmore and East Slope, they are apartment style accommodations. Brighthelm is a townhouse, and Norwich House is a more corridor style residence for you. But yes, if you would like to apply for residence, you have until July 31st to do that. If you apply after that, we'll definitely support you, but it's not guaranteed. So the next thing that you might need to think about doing is getting your CAS letter. And I will give you a heads up on some delays that we are experiencing our end. So the deposit stuff isn't relevant to you as Colfaturo recipients, because you are exempt from paying that as you are sponsored, which is fantastic and makes things a little bit easier. However, if you haven't yet sent us your sponsorship letter, please do that, because we need to mark it on your profile that you have that, and we need to see the letter. So your letter that you received from Colfaturo confirming that you had been awarded the funding. And that will also trigger the discount that is going to be applied to your tuition fees as a cost. In terms of your paying your tuition fees, you don't need to do anything with it yet. So you can't start paying your tuition until August, and there's two options for paying. You can pay for everything in full before you arrive at Sussex. Alternatively, you can pay 50% before you arrive, and you will need to have paid a minimum of 50% to be able to register, and then the remaining 50% by the end of semester one. So yes, you can split it up a little bit, but in terms, you don't have to pay anything right now. The important thing is getting your sponsorship letter over to us to exempt you from the tuition fee deposit, and then we can get you your CAS letter so you can start your visa application. So if you already have your CAS, we always recommend, if you are like 100% set that you're coming to Sussex, doing your visa application as soon as possible. We always want to make sure we've got plenty of time for you to receive it and make sure you can travel to the UK in a good amount of time. In terms of traveling to the UK, we have 2 points to make. Do not book your flights to the UK until your visa has been approved. I'm never concerned about people applying for their visa and getting accepted. Like, it's very rare that Sussex experiences rejections, but just in case, you don't want to book flights and then not be able to use them. So wait and then book them once you have had your visa confirmed. And then the other thing is, do not travel to the UK without your student visa. So if you are experiencing delays with the visa, the best thing you can do is stay in Colombia and get in contact with us and about a late arrivals period, because you won't be able to register at the university if you haven't travelled on your student visa. I am no visa expert, and I'm absolutely told not to give visa advice, but we have fantastic advice and guidance on our website at that QR code. So if you scan it now, it will take you to our landing page for applying for the visa, and there's like literally a step-by-step guide on it there, and also contact information for our immigration team, who can assist you with any questions that you might have about. So that once you kind of do your visa piece, the next thing will be your registration. And this is registering you as a student at university. This happens in late summer, so usually the last 2 weeks of August. This is when this kind of kicks in. You will receive emails about you're getting your Sussex email address, getting access to a portal called Sussex Direct, your online learning platform, which is called Canvas, as well, and getting access to those platforms. If you have any optional modules in semester one, you will be asked to choose them at this time. And then you'll also get access to the payments for tuition and housing. It will only let you go only let you do certain steps for registration online, and that's because we have to physically see you in the UK to confirm you're here on your student visa for registration to be complete. So you will only be able to get to a certain point, and then it will be saying something to the effect of you will complete registration once you've arrived in the UK. So you'll be able to get a good way through it, including all the payment stuff, but you won't be able to finish it until we have seen you during work. So arriving in the UK, what will that look like? Well, so once you get to the airport, or land on the plane, you'll get off the plane and follow signs to passport control, and this is the border for the UK at this point. When you get to the border, you should have all of your documentation handy. So we don't recommend that you put it in your checked luggage. We keep it in your hand luggage. So things, obviously your passport, your CAS letter, your housing offer letter, or if you're living in the private sector, tenancy agreement, things like that, in your hand luggage to essentially, if you were questioned, prove that you are going to be a student at the university. You will see the signs for the electronic gates where you scan your passport and go through. You are not eligible to use that on a Colombian passport. If you're traveling under a different passport, you might be able to. It's very clearly signposted as to which countries can use them. So it's the European Union, places like US, and a few others, New Zealand, Australia. So if you're traveling on a Colombian passport, you will need to get in line to see an immigration officer. They may ask you a couple of questions. They're not trying to catch you out, and they're just trying to definitely establish. Once you've gotten through immigration, you'll then go down to baggage control. And I'm thinking if you're arriving at London Heathrow or London Gatwick Airport, it will be downstairs for you. And that's where you'll pick up your baggage. You'll then go through customs, which is two kind of walkways. One is green, it says nothing to declare, and one is red and it says items to declare. Realistically, you should have nothing to declare unless you are bringing in a large amount of cash, physical cash, tobacco, things like that. If you think this applies to you, I would check on the UK, I guess, border information website, just to confirm. And I would just say avoid bringing those things if you need to. And you'll then go into the arrivals hall. Before you go through that, make sure you've got everything, like check you've got your phone, your passport, any valuables, because once you've gone into the arrivals hall, you can't go back into baggage claim. So once you're out type thing. When you get through that, Sussex will be running a free coach service on arrivals weekend, which I'll talk to a bit next. So you'll be able to go to the correct place to pick up the coach service or make your way to the university. So if you are flying into London Gatwick Airport, which would probably most likely be the case if you are connecting through Madrid. I'm trying to think, when I came back from Bogota in January, I flew from Madrid and then Madrid to London Gatwick. Gatwick is the more convenient option for the university. It is literally 30 minutes on a very simple train to the university. But if you are flying into London Heathrow, I would definitely take advantage of our coach service. As I said, it's going to be free of charge, and it will run on Friday 19th, Saturday 20th, and Sunday 21st of September. You can take the train from Heathrow down to Brighton. You would need to go into central London. I don't think it's the easiest way to get around. So even if you are arriving away from the coach service that Sussex is running, there is a national coach company called the National Express, where you can book a coach directly to Brighton from London Heathrow. Obviously, you can get a taxi or an Uber, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. From Gatwick, your minimum £50, Gatwick minimum, Heathrow minimum £90. So it is definitely the least cost-effective way to travel. The other thing I'll give you a heads up on for arrivals weekends, if you're arriving on the Saturday, is that currently Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, who are a Premier League football team who play in the stadium shown on the screen, which is just across the road from campus, they have a home football game on the Saturday, which is due to kick off at 3 p.m. So from about 2 p.m. to about 5 p.m, the whole area can be very busy, and also the major stations as well, with football fans, which tend to be a little bit rowdier and heavily male dominated. And so I think it's always worth giving a heads up about that environment that might be present if you're arriving around. So in terms of inducting you to the university, your earliest move into residences is Saturday 20th of September, and then welcome weekend is the 20th and 21st of September. So that's when people are moving in, getting settled into their residences. You can still move in after those dates. If you're going to do that, let us know. Make sure we keep the room for you if you're arriving a little bit later. From the 22nd to the 28th of September is Welcome Week, and this is a week of academic welcomes, settling in activities, and a great social timetable as well. There will also be social activities on Welcome. And there are no classes during this peak period, and it is really a time for you to get settled into the university, find your feet, and also get used to living in Brighton a little bit. You'll also complete registration during this time, and then classes will start in November. Now, you will have Welcome Week schedules that are going to be released over the summer, both from Sussex and the Students' Union. But just to give you an idea of what you can expect, so on the university side, you will have a induction to your degree, and often there's a wider school induction as well. So, for example, if you're part of the School of Global Studies would typically do a welcome. There's also things like support with IT, library, all of that kind of thing. There's all of the school offices will be open, so you can go timetable. All of the support services will be available that week as well. And then there'll also be smaller events. So on the Friday of Welcome Week, for example, there will be a welcome from the Vice Chancellor that we do. There's often loads of free food around as well, which is really great to take advantage of. And then the Students' Union run much more of the social activities. So these are some of the things from last year, and some of them were more partying focused, some were more low key, some were kind of in the middle, some were more about getting to know the place. It's really up to you what you want to get involved in. You're not forced to get involved in any of it if you don't want to. Likewise, if you want to get involved with as much as you can, you absolutely can do that as well. There are some events that require booking, and some require a ticket to go. So things like the pier party, where we take over the pier in Brighton and just get everyone to be able to use the rides and have firework display. You would need to buy a ticket for that. But others like quiz night and movie night, things like that. One of the things that we do recommend that you start the process of doing during Welcome Week is opening a bank account. Unfortunately, in the UK, this isn't like a process where you walk into a bank and you say, hey, I'd like a bank account, and walk out. It takes a little bit of time to get sorted. So an alternative payment method for probably your first 3 weeks in the UK is advised. The typical process is, it varies from bank to bank, annoyingly, but typically some will require that you to have an in-person appointment. Some will be able to do things online. Some do a mixture of both. So it's really a case of asking the bank that you are most interested in. When it comes to choosing a bank, I think for the type of account that you need, which would be something called a current account, which is basically, it's like a debit account, like you can only spend the money that's in it, and you get a debit card associated with it, but there is no like credit on it or anything like that. Typically at most banks, they are pretty similar. And in fact, if a bank is trying payment, like a monthly fee to it, I would avoid that bank. So what you'll typically need to do is have a proof of ID. A passport is typically what we would recommend. The proof of right to be in the UK, so your visa. Now, some of you might have a physical visa, some might be a digital. Either will be fine. And then a proof of address. So if you're living on campus, your housing offer letter, for example. If you're living in Brighton, a tenancy agreement, those kinds of things. And we can also provide a bank letter to you to support you out. If you need to go and do something in person, typically you need to book an appointment, open the account there and then, but then your card and PIN number for the card will come in the mail separately. If you're doing it on an app, you don't obviously have to make the appointment, but you still need to wait for everything to. Some other things that we recommend you do, obviously during Welcome Week, is complete the university registration. This is also when you'll get your student ID. We'd advise you to register with the doctors that is either nearest to you or on campus. So if you're living on campus, use the campus one. And the campus one has a pretty wide intake area locations around the city. It's actually the doctors I use. They're actually fantastic. And it's good, you should take advantage of this because as part of your visa, you will have access to the National Health Service in the UK in the same way I do as a British citizen. You can register at unimed.co.uk once you're in the UK. And it's one of the things that we recommend doing quite early on because it takes 24 hours to process the doc. So what we would hate for you is to not have it and be unwell and need to see a doctor. So do it as soon as you can. And then the other thing is to look into a phone plan. Typically, you won't be able to commit to one until you've got your bank account sorted, but some have much more flexible options. And you could also look at eSIMs to kind of fill in the gap for when you first arrive as well. So the other thing that we really recommend that you do during Welcome Week is go and explore Brighton. I'm hoping that some of you are familiar with Brighton anyway, but we are really close to the city centre, so it's about, depends where you want to go, but anywhere between 5 and 7 kilometres from campus. You have really great public transport links, so it's 9 minutes by train, and the train station is right by the football stadium, so it's super accessible, or 25 minutes by bus. The bus service is 24/7. There's actually 4 or 5 routes that serve the university, 2 of which come onto the actual campus itself. They run the bus route that's called the 25, which is the main one, that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is incredibly safe to be on as well, even at 3 a.m. You also have great connections to the rest of the country. So as we talked about London, so Gatwick Airport is only 30 minutes away, and London's only an hour away. So I'm very biased when I talk about Brighton because it's my hometown, and I personally don't think there's anywhere better to live in the whole of the UK. It is a real bohemian hub of England, and really has something for everybody, whether you're into your culture, your sports, your more outdoors life, music, or all of those things together. I promise you, you will not be bored. It is regularly voted in the top 10 live in. It was in the top 10 cities, most walkable cities as well this year. So in terms of getting around, it's super, super easy. And it will 100% enhance your Sussex experience spending time in Brighton. So just to introduce you to the city a little bit, it is a mid-sized city. It's about 300,000 residents in Brighton itself. And then about another 40,000 students in the city as well during the semester. So it grows significantly, particularly during the undergraduate school calendar. I put on down some sort of population like census and things on here, but it is well known for being a pretty liberal city, politically, in terms of environment, in terms of things like race and gender. Pretty much across the board, it is well regarded as probably the most liberal place in the UK. We are currently represented by the Green Party in the National Parliament as the main Brighton constituency, and then the one Labour, which is the more left well. So that's the kind of vibe that you're going for. It's definitely a tourist destination, particularly in the summer. There is plenty of tourists around at the moment. And as well as being known as very liberal, it's very accepting and very quirky and a little bit hippie-ish as well. There's really three facets to Brighton. So obviously we're on the water, and having that beach experience really enhances Brighton. Throughout the year, I think obviously in the summer it's amazing. We've had some fantastic, kind of unseasonably fantastic weather for us this week. It's been about 33 degrees, and so the beaches have been absolutely packed. The water is still very cold. It is maybe 14 degrees, so it's definitely very refreshing. But the whole beachfront is fantastic for lots of different things. This area that's on the screen is more central to the city centre, so that tends to be quite busy, and there's lots of bars, restaurants, nightclubs along this part. But if you go to the east, there's a brand new water sports centre down there with a great swimming pool, there's beach volleyball. If you head down west, there's a whole new sports centre that's just been built with paddle, tennis, a brand new skate park, and there's also another water sports centre down there, slightly more event wakeboarding and things like that as well. And I think being by the water definitely gives a slightly more relaxed feel. Like, we're often referred to as London by the sea as the city, but definitely being by the water adds in a surfer vibe. Then you have the city itself. So you've got the more modern part, which is where you'll find like those international brands, Zara, the Apple Store, H&M, things like that. But the real essence of Brighton is found in this area, the lanes. These are the old streets from when Brighton was a fishing village about 400 years ago, and it is home to loads of fantastic independent retailers, bars, restaurants, comedy clubs, coffee shops, art galleries, art venues, record stores. You name it, you'll find it in this area. I was just there, and it was fantastic, and oh, it was just lovely. And supporting our local retailers and shopping local, it's really important to Brighton that we give that support back. The way I always describe it is that if you are a Brighton local, you have your favourite coffee shop, you avoid Starbucks like the plague. So that's the real kind of tell. And then we are so lucky to have this amazing countryside space around us as well. So if you are more at one with nature and enjoy being outdoors a bit more, having the South Downs is fantastic to be right on the doorstep as well. So what kind of feeds into Brighton's, I guess, bohemian nature is a lot of the festivals that we have throughout the year. And I just wanted to talk to a few of my favourites, because these are certainly things that you can look forward at Sussex. The first big one that I'll mention, and the one that we are gearing up for as a city, is Pride. So Brighton Pride is the largest Pride event in the UK, and I think even in Europe as well. It is huge. It's a 3-day event. The city triples in size during Pride, and it is the best weekend. It's always the first weekend of August, which I'm so glad that as Master Students you are here for it. And it is a weekend of celebration. we have this fantastic parade through the street, which has loads of different floats in with different performers and singers and bands, and still definitely harbours that element of protest as well, which is fantastic. But then we have this amazing 2-day festival that you can go and enjoy, the street parties. And even if you're not getting involved in the sort of organised activities, the vibe of the city those days is amazing. The second one I'll bring on to is one that only happens in Brighton, and it's called Burning the Clocks, which and it's the top centre top image here. It celebrates the winter solstice, and kind of the point of it is to welcome in winter and embrace that rather than it being something to be feared. Which is, again, it's another parade, and there's all of these lanterns. So it's always December 22nd at about 4 p.m. And there's a big parade through the street, and then it finishes on the beach with a bonfire and a fireworks display to, again, yes, welcome in the longest night of the year. So yes, we embrace that. And it only happens in Brighton, so you won't find this anywhere else. These other two images represent my two other favourite things that happen. They happen in May and they happen concurrently. So we have the Brighton Festival, which is kicked off by the Children's Parade, which is the first here. And then we have the Brighton Fringe Festival, which is a comedy festival. So the Brighton Festival deals with all other art. So art, music, exhibitions, poetry, you name it. The Fringe is entirely comedy, and it's England's largest comedy festival. And they run amazing events, both of them, throughout the month of May. There's pop-up venues all over the city, like everywhere you go, there's something happening. And it also coincides with the Great Escape Festival, which is Europe's largest independent music festival as well. There's loads of others throughout the year. Some of them are small scale, some of them are larger. Things like Marathon Day in Brighton are absolutely huge. There's also one fun one to look out for, which is the Naked Bike Ride, which is absolutely, as it sounds, a naked bike ride, and it's a fundraiser for cancer charities. So yeah, there's loads of this. And then just finally, just wanted to, I guess, introduce you to the UK a little bit, because the UK and the rest of Brighton can feel quite different. So forgive me if you already know some of this, but a quick introduction. The UK is made up of 4 nations: England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales, and has a population of about 66 million people in the country. Each of those countries has its own like national identity, accent, and a pride around them for sure. And then even away from the different nations, it's such a region for a very, very small country geographically. It is very regionally diverse. You can travel 30 minutes away from Brighton and the accent will be slightly different. You travel 2 hours away and it can be entirely different. It will have different attitudes, different, I guess, political views, ethnicities, accents, the physical geography will look different. And words for things are different as well. Slang language really varies depending on your locality. And there's some amazing cities and places to go see. Obviously, with birthplace of Shakespeare, birthplace of the computer. There is so much history and culture to experience in the UK. I would really encourage you to try and travel around the UK on the fantastic public transport network, and really embrace your time whilst you're here and go and see some cities. You'll probably do more than me. I've not travelled around the UK particularly well. I'm saving it for when I can't fly internationally anymore. But yeah, there's some fantastic things to see. The other thing to note is the currency is the Great British Pound, represented by the screen. So we get a lot of questions about the weather, because famously England or the UK doesn't have amazing weather. But actually, I think it gets a bit of a bad reputation. It's not as bad as everyone says. When you first arrive, you can expect nice, long, warm, dry, sunny days. In September, I'd anticipate it to still be getting into the 20s, into October, sort of mid to high teens. I would say what people have a hard time adjusting to, it's not the weather, it's daylight. So in November to February, it gets colder. Obviously there's a bit more rain around. Snow is quite rare, but it's the daylight that really is the noticeable thing. The UK is obviously incredibly far north, which means that in the winter our days are very, very short. Sun can rise at about 8 a.m. and set at about 3:30 p.m. So that's kind of the bigger adjustment. March through May is typical spring weather. It can be very temperamental. My birthday is April 12th, and on my birthday, I've had it be snowing and I've had it be tipping it down with rain. I've also had it to be 30-degree heat. So it's a bit of everything in those months. And then June through August is we get the flip side of winter. The days get incredibly long. Today the sun didn't set officially until about 9:34 p.m. And then obviously it stayed light for about another hour after that. And the sun will rise. I will just check whilst we are here. But I would guess that tomorrow the sun is due to rise at 4:53 in the morning. So we're getting about 6 hours of dark in the summer months. So you can really enjoy those long summer days. Things get a bit warmer, and being down the south coast, we definitely get the best of the weather. And then finally, what are the people like in England? Well, I think we definitely play up to some of our stereotypes. We can come across as quite polite, but also quite reserved initially, I would say. That is the default. If you want to think about it, it's like anti-American in the sense of people saying, "Hi, how is your day going?" or whatever, like in a store. But people will like do small talk, like if you're in line, that. But once you break a Brit down, they will be your best friend and be very, very open with you and very welcoming. I would say one thing that people find a little bit strange is our sense of humour. It is very sarcastic, and also the way that friendship and I guess love for people is expressed is often through making fun of people in a very gentle way. But that indicates a certain level of acceptance, I would say. We can also be a little bit cynical as a nation, particularly around the weather. The weather is the perfect example of this. We will complain that it's been raining for 5 days, and then we will get a very, very warm day, and everyone will be complaining that it's too hot. So that's definitely true. And the other stereotype that's true is we actually do drink a lot of tea. That is very, very true. So you will, I'm sure, adopt that as part of your culture, having been there. So I'm hoping I've done all right on time. I think I'm pretty much on point. So I guess if there's any questions, I'm absolutely...
Bueno, pues a todas las personas que están conectadas, los invitamos este par de minuticos que nos quedan de la sesión para que le dejen las preguntas que les haya surgido de la sesión para Casia. Entonces, con muchísimo gusto se las dirigiré a ellas y nos la dejan en el cajón de Q&A.
What I'll do for everybody as well is I'll put my email address in the chat, because I
Okay,
just realized
yes,
I forgot to put it on this slide. And if you
perfect.
think of any questions, you can reach out to me on that email address. I will be off next week, so I won't be able to them immediately, but there will be an additional contact for you.
That's perfect, thank you. Casia, how much time in advance do you recommend to arrive before the start of the classes?
Yes, so if I go back a few slides, so the official date are this one here. So the earliest you can arrive in the UK is 30 days before your program starts, and that's with the visa. I don't think there's any need to arrive that early unless you are looking for somewhere to live off campus, I would say, or you want to go and explore before classes start. So the earliest you can move into campus housing is at the moment is the 20th of September. So there's really no reason to arrive before that date. If, for example, you found a flight that was significantly cheaper that you had you arriving on the 23rd of September, that's also absolutely fine. You just need to be here to start classes on.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, yes, we have two questions for you. The first one is, I was wondering, okay, oh no. I sent my application on late May, and I have not received an answer yet. What is the ETA?
Should have happened. So if you can email me, I can chase that up. And the email is in the chat.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much. When will we start to find out which housing option we were accepted into?
Yes, great question. That will happen after the deadline. So the deadline is July 31st. And we hold everyone's applications until then, just because everybody receives their offers at different times. So from August, you will start to hear, but as long as you have applied by the 31st of July deadline, you are guaranteed accommodation. So don't worry that you haven't heard yet. That's totally normal.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Cassia, we didn't have any more question for you. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Is better to live inside the campus or outside?
My personal opinion, and it is just my opinion, is that
Yes.
campus is better. It is, for one, much easier because you just do our housing application and you're done. You don't have to deal with landlords or anything like that. And you still have very easy access into Brighton. You also have easier access to all of the support services. The other thing that I think is underestimated about living on campus is that you know how much it will cost now. We have the prices of the residences. You know that it will be the weekly rate times 51 because that's how many weeks you will be living in there. And that price includes your utilities, your internet, it includes cleaning, it includes insurance, those kinds of things. If you live off campus, typically you don't have that inbuilt into the price. And in England, particularly in the winter, when you're using more of like heating and things like that, your utilities can be very, very variable. So if you want to have a good idea of what it's going to cost you to live in residence and like have your finances planned out, I think campus is better. I've always said if it was me, I would live in
Yes.
residence. And it's very like the similar experience living off campus because you live in a shared house, you still get to know lots of people, and it's probably a little bit nicer as well. Like you might even have your own bathroom, and you still have the kitchen and space and everything like that as well. And also the university doesn't treat you as a child in when you're living in residence. You can, if you want to have a party, you can have a party. If you want to have friends to stay, that's all totally fine
Yes.
as well. So you can still have a quite adult life there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your recommendations and your opinion. And okay, could you please repeat the tuition payment deadlines? I feel like Cultura's payment dates may be different. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they probably are, which if that is, that's fine. We can work around it a little
Yeah.
bit. So your tuition fees, you will start being able to have access to pay them from August. And then you have two options. In August or before registration, you can pay for everything upfront. Alternatively, you can do a split. So you can do 50% by the time you do registration, so late September, and then 50% by the end of semester one. So usually, does that fit with Colfuturo's date?
Yes, the dates that Cultura do the payments to the university is in March and November.
Okay, so we can, because we know that you are a Colfuturo student, because we will have that on our records.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't worry about this. It's
Yes,
fine.
that's right. Perfect, Cassia.
It matches up.
Well, Cassia, we didn't have any more questions for you. So thank you so much for your time and disposition and this excellent presentation for all the attendees and selected people to Call Futuro. So thank you. And I hope to see you again in the next opportunity.
Absolutely lovely to see you all. And if you need anything, any help with anything over the summer, please do let us know. Even if it's the smallest question, we'd rather you ask it than be stressed.
Perfect, Cassia. Thank you so much.
Good
Have a
night,
nice day.
everyone. Bye.
Goodbye.